28-ton of coal by myself.
And from 33 on, you were not a ball player that could sleep in a cross
No,
cut.
no.
You were loading plenty of coal.
Loading plenty of coal.
And playing ball.
Yeah.
But there probably were a couple of stars they let sleep
Oh, yeah,
in the
they
cross
let-
cuts. Maybe 6, 8 guys were
6, 8
so
guys.
good but if they needed 15 to travel on the team, then you were part of that.
Part of the team.
Okay. And, well, you were keeping up with Cecil and people like that, Cecil Urbanic, because those were the years he was starring, too, in
Oh, yeah, well,
college ball.
Cecil was quite a...
He was quite a celebrated star. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
captain of the University of Kentucky
good football player and
baseball.
everything.
And Jim was
Jim,
good later.
Jim was the same way.
Yeah,
Jim played
yeah.
good
Well,
football,
you followed
too.
all those years. But do you think you began earlier with the Industrial League before you went to work at Watson? Did you begin when you were in your 20s playing some of that kind of ball? Or
Yeah. Well, we had what they called they had another coal league there, too, one time.
in the 20s?
Yeah, that was before Rogersville.
All right, tell me what do you remember about it? Did Watson have a team in it?
Watson, Gypsy, Monongah.
What was that one called before the Tri-State League? Did it have another name?
Well, it was just I think they called it the Coal League.
Earlier Coal League,
Yeah.
okay.
And then they graduated to the Tri-Coal.
That was Gypsy. What towns that didn't make it later had it then? Gypsy, Watson, Monongah, right?
Yeah, and they had a team of Catawba.
Catawba,
down
okay.
there, and,
I remember that. Catawba's a ghost town.
yeah, it's...
Any other things that you remember?
Four states.
Four
was in,
states
Four
was in
states
it.
was in it, too.
Okay.
All the Radish boys played on it, and Farmington.
Well, that's right. And some of these places, like Gypsy, Catawba,
Rachel.
well, those didn't make it into the final into the
No,
Tri-State
in the
League.
Tri-State,
later.
they
Yeah,
didn't
so
make
that's
it.
helpful. This was more very local coal towns.
Well,
right?
then when they began to pick up...
What years do you remember that league with Gypsy, Rachel, Farmington? Was that in the 20s?
That was in the 20s.
So you're born in 05. By the time you're about 18, you're playing in that kind of ball?
I was playing ball.
Okay. And you're working at the glass plant? You're working somewhere else?
Right, box shop.
Who sponsors that? Always coal companies?
Yeah,
Buying the
each
uniform?
company bought the uniform.
So then they're very active.
Consol 26.
Now, you said a superintendent came along and ended that. Who was he?
Harry Tanner.
And what year do you think he ended that kind of?
Well, it was in...
1930 in the Depression, maybe?
It was after... No, it was after 35, around 35.
He suddenly says, nobody's going to sleep in cross
That's right.
We're ending it. Let the merchants sponsor. Okay.
He wanted
a lot of shouting about it.
We used to go to Webster Springs and pick up a boy, Hammond, to pitch. And he used to pay for going up and
the mileage and all that.
coming back.
Probably was the Depression. He was being criticized for his costs or something.
Then he had another boy, Pat Hall. He pitched either way, the right hand and left hand. We had to go after him up at Webster Springs.
They were on his payroll, but they never came to work?
Never, well...
he carried him on his payroll?
Moore, he went to Fairmont State.
Moore?
Moore.
And he carried him on the New England coal payroll? Or Consol, whoever it was.
Yeah, he went to State College.
Yeah. So they were really, at that point, you might say professional team, because the guys don't do anything for them.
Ronald Hartley and Bill Julian, when these other teams had a hard game out of town, they had to hire these two to go the pitcher and the catcher. And they'd pay him to...
Really?
Pay him to... They were good. Bill Julian, he could have made any... He was dumb. He never had no education. He didn't want to quit the mines. But they had a lot of good ball players that come out of Watson there.
So the guys at Webster Springs never even showed up to work at all. They just got their checks, huh?
They got paid. Well, I don't know whether it's on the payroll or not. See, Harry Tanner actually shut that mine down. He was
the tough guy that had to close it in 38.
Well, what he was doing, he's making a name for himself as a super. The money he got to put on the main line, spent on the main line or not, he was turning it in on his tonnage, and he was getting coal out of there 27 cents a ton, which is giving him a big name. But the track was going out of sight in the mud pretty soon. A lot of times the double-header motor had to come outside and stand up again on the 07 hill to pull the coal trip out. And they finally shut it down. Then I don't know whether they
You think they left a lot of coal in there due to negligence?
Oh yeah, they got places down there at what they call Brookdale, just necked off, just one cut out of them, two cuts out.
Is that just poor management?
Poor management's what it was.
And nobody above him to call a turn on him. He was like God. Huh?
They never paid any attention to him because he was mining coal so it's cheap, getting it out so cheap. And then they burnt. There used to be a big coal bin out there that they all held about 800 ton for domestic coal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it caught on fire one night. I don't know how it did, but it did, and it burned down.
You're smiling when you say that.
Yeah.
Nobody in Watson knows how it caught on fire.
No.
Okay.
And then the tipple burned down too, and the mine.
There wasn't any strike on them.
No.
But nobody liked Harry Tanner either.
Nobody liked Harry Tanner.
So you're smiling because everybody knew who did it, but nobody liked Harry Tanner.
That's right.
And that they decided to shut the mine down. What happened to Harry Tanner?
Well, he went up. He's up around Orange or someplace now.
Retired, I guess.
He had a little old coal mine up or someplace, and he left the back end of his car open. And he went in there to get something, and the big copperhead hit him in the hand, and he about died over that.
Nobody knows how that happened either?
No.
Nobody knows who put the copperhead
No.
in his car to wait for him.
But it was there.
It's funny things happen around the mine, isn't it?
Right.
It's like, you know what it reminds me of? Like messing with the soldiers in Vietnam, you know, if an officer,
They shoot him in the back.
well, you know, they frag him like they say, you know what I mean? They just let a hand grenade go off. And,
Another thing, you always got a lot of fun. Hell, if you killed
If
a
you
rat,
mess with
killed
a-
a rat in the mines.
Huh?
If you killed a rat in the mine, they didn't want you to kill him.
Yeah. No, they were supposed to show you the way to safety.
Show
if
you
it was
the way to
danger,
safety, yes.
Yeah, mining traditions have to be respected.
And
you know.
they believed in that.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't stay in a place that was,
No.
was
There was
dangerous.
also another thing at Owings, I remember. They never would allow a woman to visit that mine.
Right, they.
Now, there were
miners
other
didn't-
mines, Grantown, a woman
they
could
were-
visit, anything but...
The minute quit work.
Oh, I never will forget, because in 1957, I think we took down a group and at Owings, and when we got there, there was no way we could take the women.
I know
We had to
that
wait.
they took my mother in the mines when my brother got killed. So they say, I don't remember.
Yeah. This
She
is when
told me about it.
1905, same thing, right after you.
And they took her in there to show her
Where he got killed?
where he got
Did
killed.
she ever tell you they did?
Oh yeah, she told me that they
He got run over in the mines. She wanted to see it, so they took her in the mine to
took
see
her in
it.
the mine and showed her.
Yeah.
It was a motor, double head motor, and 52 empties run over. And
The
you know
motorman never saw him.
no, and you know he wasn't in one piece
Oh, no.
when they picked him up.
Did she ever look at his body or let
No.
They closed the
So
coffin.
they picked him
so
up in the basket
they closed the coffin, but she wanted to see where he died.
and where he died.
Did she ever blame the motorman or not?
Oh yeah, she always held it against him. She thinks that he could have.
He could have seen the boy and saved his life. Yeah.
The boy opened the door the way I understand it,
Mhm.
and he was getting out of the way there, he pulled out and caught his heel on the motor and towed him down.
And the motorman could have seen it.
Could have seen that he never stopped or anything. I don't
Yeah.
say the man done it intentionally or.
No, but it's hard to live in a small town
Small
like that
town
with her
like
and
that,
her
yeah.
feeling that way. Did he move away later?
No, he
stayed all
till he
his life?
died. Tony Jarrett.
Is he a Jarrett of
Yeah,
the Jarretts
he
we
was
were
a
talking
Jarrett,
about?
yeah.
One of those
Uh-huh.
Englishmen? Or?
Yeah, an Englishman. Didn't like a tally.
Well, that's enough reason for her to hold it as to how he might have felt, huh?
Just like this woman, if you read in the paper the other day where this guy at Farmington, he was robbing this car wash,
I wasn't
and,
here.
and this guy unloaded, his boy's 15 years old, and he unloaded the shotgun on him,
Mhm.
put some pellets in him, and the mother wrote a letter in the paper that was wrong for the guy to shoot the boy.
Mhm.
He was maybe doing wrong, but he didn't. Well, if you read this guy up here at Monongah, they went in and beat him to death and took his money.
Mhm.
Well, you mean you can't protect yourself?
Yeah. Right.
It's like I've been having this stoning at the house, at my place here for 7
you're,
nights,
You're putting up with a lot.
and I got a shotgun. If I ever catch one of them around the house,
Yeah.
he's going to get some BBs.
Right. Tell me about the number 9 people you lost. Virgil Fort is whose son?
My sister's, Myrtle's son.
Myrtle's son, and Myrtle married who?
Well, she was married and divorced, and she married Nick Penn.
Nick Penn.
Yeah,
But
he-
the Fort boy is from her first marriage?
First
She was married at that time to who? With Fort?
Henry Fort.
F-O-R-T-E.
Right.
That's not an Italian name?
Yeah.
It
and
is.
he went to.
You say Fort. You don't say
Fort.
Forte or something.
No,
Okay.
he went to New York or Philadelphia to get a job, and he never come back.
He just left.
Just left and never come back.
And Virgil was raised by her in a second marriage.
He was raised by me.
Really? So you feel very close to Virgil.
In fact, I had to adopt him and his brother.
You adopted them and raised them, really?
To raise them.
Because she went on and married someone else and didn't take responsibility
When she
for
got
them.
married and got settled down, I gave her the kids.
After you had
back.
adopted
I gave
them.
them back.
How old were they when you gave them back to them?
They wasn't too old, like 12, 13 years old,
All
something
right,
like
but
that.
you raised them from the time
Yes,
they were how
sir.
old?
From when they were little tots.
So you feel very close to Virgil.
Oh, yeah.
Virgil is not one of those that they found before
No.
they sealed the mine.
He's still there.
So was Virgil over in, say, where they were maybe had that covered up machine, do you think?
My understanding, him and one of the boss's boys, section boss's boy, were.
What's his name?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, yeah.
They were drilling. They were drilling for the main line to lay heavy
And
steel.
they were even further west
Yeah,
on the main line.
I
Because the
think
main line was going west, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think they were where they got the brunt of it.
You think it was
When-
on the main line?
They were on the main line.
Well, why would you think? You know, a lot depends on the theories, where it happened. If it happened off on that section where they had supposedly a covered-up miner from the previous shift, a lot of people think, that the company denied. They didn't want to make a big scene as to
Right.
how they might kind of get that buried miner out. That's one thing. And
My
of course,
theory was it was rock, mud rock instead of
Yeah,
hammer.
right, yeah,
Hammer
there's a lot of
nose, they
people,
was
yeah.
mud rock and nose
yeah,
and
right.
breaking the
A
rock.
lot of people believe that. Of course, the biggest thing you know for sure is, and I read the hearings, I read every bit of testimony, every bit of text, it just is not true the way the superintendent and the other people testify. Like superintendent's asked, and we know what a superintendent does. He administers the mine just like a big business from up on top, right?
Right.
No, he says, I was down in that mine every day. I walked through all sections. Well, I haven't met a superintendent yet that would truthfully make that statement.
That's
How does he
right.
get through all sections of the mine? The mine foreman testifies and doesn't even say he can get through it all, because they say it's so many miles.
That's right.
What do you mean? Back in there where there was all that drift and all, you were looking over in there where there was bound to be a lot
He
of
never
gas
went up in
stream?
them gobs.
The gob piles were way off there. They last, well, this was miles.
The reason
of
my
gob
theory
piles.
is that they were in the worst end of it.
Yeah.
Is when that hits, it goes back.
And it's dead ending into
Yeah,
where
and
they drive.
they were right at the dead end of it.
I agree. It's
drinking
like
that-
you were dead ending that day.
Right.
You're going to get hit right against the wall.
Just like the one they had at Farmington when they lost 016. I got a
That was
second.
1954.
Yeah, I got a cousin in that.
Your cousin was
Yeah.
who in that one?
He was a Beafore.
A Beafore. What
Yeah.
Beafore did you lose in that one?
Well, that's my dad's. It was my dad's cousin. I guess he was about a fourth cousin to me.
Mm-hmm.
And they come out.
What Beafore was he?
Huh? It was John Beafore's boy.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that
He was buried there, huh?
they got they got him out.
His body came.
Yeah.
But they sealed the mine first. You got to remember they
Yeah,
first sealed
yeah,
it, right?
they sealed. But what I'm getting at to say that they drove nails in the cable,
Yeah, I saw those pictures.
and then hooked all the shots up and farted
Yeah,
off
that's
the
what they show. I have photographs of that.
farted
by
off the
doing-
trolley lines
Yeah.
instead of shooting each shot off the
Yeah,
back.
right.
Right.
And somebody in authority knows that when that's
Well,
going
sure.
on
The
all
second
the
boss
time.
said, "Hurry up, let's."
That's right.
They was
yeah.
the Beafore boy was down at the bottom of the cage, and it wasn't even quitting time. Waiting,
The one, yeah.
waiting
He
to
was
go,
trapped right there.
yeah,
where
waiting
they
to
found
go
him.
up when
The explosion hit.
the explosion hit.
Yeah, that was a good case because John L. Lewis came right out, drove all night from Washington, D.C. in 54, but there wasn't this kind of TV coverage. When he got here, he listened to all the facts, and he agreed to seal in the mine right then and there.
Well, the three guys that they found back there covered up with tarp, they lived there for a while.
yeah. Yeah, it's sad when you find that.
You know.
I don't think at number 9, though, I think that was such a gassy mine, just like Love Ridge.
Oh, yeah.
I really think it went wild in it. The miracle is those 8 men we pulled out at Maud's Run.
George
and
and them.
George is, I've interviewed George for probably 5 tapes like this, for just hours, because he and I were buddies when I taught the course and all. The lovely thing about George was the first time he didn't want to talk much. Second time we'd become much closer, and he was much franker.
Did you go up to his home, or?
Huh?
You go up-
No, we did it here when I was still in the clinic in
Well, see,
75.
I seen George here, I'd say about a month and a half ago.
How is he doing now?
Pretty good. He was sitting on the porch, And
Yeah.
I was looking, somebody had advertised
Yeah.
the electric lawnmower, and I
Yeah.
couldn't find a place, and
Oh, yeah, I got to write that down. George, what was his last name?
Wilson.
Yeah, George Wilson.
And I
Was
stopped.
he the 7 South crew, I think they
I
call
think
what
so.
was
He had
in, yeah.
one. He lost one boy off his crew there. He run the other way.
Yeah, well, they couldn't help it. He ran. You
And
know.
I got out.
Everyone he held, he never took credit for it. In the whole interview, you just knew his wisdom. He was the oldest guy, and they were young. You know what I mean? That he said no to the guy who was running. They couldn't see a damn thing. He described that to me for hours on the thing. You know, he said, can you imagine like a hurricane? You follow me? It just debris and wood. You know, it's just you
Everything.
can't see anything. You know, you're shouting in the dark, just saying, head for the. You know, he just knew to head for that
Shaft, yeah.
shaft, right? And he knew it was an outlet. That's fine. You know, where there'd be there'd be a chance for fresh air.
Well,
The miracle is they ever got him up that damn thing. 'Cause
They was lucky.
They
The
fainted
guys
several
passed
times.
passing
They passed
out and
out.
everything.
Yeah.
I met George when they dedicated the
Oh yeah. The
up there.
morning. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
talked to him, and then, like I was telling you, I stopped at this house.
Where's his house? I'm trying to. He told me all.
It's up at Bingaman,
Oh yeah.
up the holler there. And I got out and I said, "Hey, buddy, can you?" He said, "It's Choppy. Is that you?"
Mhm.
And here's George.
Right.
And they had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had one guy in there. That was his third explosion that he come through.
Let me think. That came out alive?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there was one guy who walked out alive. His father, I think, died in the 54 explosion. And I had something on each guy, you remember? The one black guy that walked out was interesting for some reason. I can't remember now. You know, I mean, he had done something. Nathaniel, somebody, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And then one guy had lost his daddy in 50. You know, it was like each one had a little story about what had happened. I didn't know about your relatives. You know, I saw. Let's break it up
Yeah.
now.
Now,
How about let's agree? I'll call you if I'm free Friday, and if you can stay
Okay,
Monday
well,
or Friday.
I'll be tied up till 11:15.
On Friday?
That's our shopping.
On Friday.
Yeah, it's our shopping.
How about me if I can call you then, and if I'm free and if you're free, we'll try to get together.
Right.
Okay.
Jimmy Walters, now he got killed. He worked at Grandtown. He had a good job there. And he quit there and worked for me for 3
I know.
days.
That was so sad. How
Three
many of those
days.
people I interviewed that shifted over there, and one guy was on his first shift.
Well, my nephew, they wanted to put him on day shift that week.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, the
no.
woman from Preston County had 16 children. The husband was commuting.
And Virgil, we called him Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete.
Yeah,
Huh?
he said, I don't want to work on day shift. I like cat eye.
Mhm.
And he wouldn't. He had seniority to go on day shift, but he wouldn't do it.
He just loved cat eye.
That's right.
You know why he loved cat eye? Did he like to sleep at night?
Sleep.
Yeah.
What is his first name?
Mike.
Mike.
I call Mike. Yeah.
Mike
M.H.
Sam.
Ross. Yeah.
I
Great
call you
son.
Mr. Ross all the time.
Fine. No, I wish
And
you wouldn't.
I've
I
enjoyed
thank you
this
for your
and
kindness, and please don't let me hold you up. You're
Okay,
about
yeah.
4 minutes over.
You.
I've enjoyed it. I'll get in touch with you Friday
You
and
give
see if
me a
we can
call.
continue.
Yeah. Now, my sister might hang up on you. She might think that somebody got a hold of the telephone number.
Oh, no, I'll explain to her
And
it's for you.
If
You
she
tell her.
does, you call Stanley's and tell the kids to call.
Will
me,
do.
and
Okay,
I'll
yeah.
get a hold of you.
Very fine. Thank you.
Okay, nice.
Right.
See, maybe we'll get out and have a bite to eat.
I hope so.
Right.
Bye.
Right. War's closed with,
Mm-hmm.
and we run into sandstorm. We had to quit. And of course, I filled it up when the little kids got to messing around there. I was afraid they'd drown in there, and I just filled the darn thing up.
Sure.
I wouldn't gamble. First thing we had water in the house anyhow then.
Right. You were telling me that this was about World War I. Your brother's been injured, hospitalized, and now he arrives at the gasoline. You run up and alert everybody, and
Right.
the whole family comes
Whole
down.
family.
Your mother, your dad, as many as are home, huh?
And there's many there.
Some of the neighbors maybe.
And
that's
neighbors
home.
too.
And they run down and they meet him about across the street from the National Guard.
Right down the foot of the hill where the mine was, right?
And he's coming across from the covered bridge. Huh?
Yeah, he's
That's where
walking-
they embrace him, I
Yeah,
guess.
walking up there.
So what's he tell you about the world when he comes back?
Well, he told me a lot of things. That he was my idol then, you know. I used to. He
Yeah.
stayed home. I slept with him, and that's fact. In fact, that's how I got these bad feet, breaking the shoes in for him.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
Breaking in?
his shoes were tight on his foot, and I'd wear them, and they got loose, and
Yeah. Was
They
that
were-
the ones they brought from the army that
yeah,
hurt your
and then
feet?
the
How
government,
bad are your feet? Are they injured in places?
just that one toe crosses over on a big old light
Yeah.
catch there.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get Doc Hamill to take it off, and he wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Said, you don't need it off, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So then the government started making him a special shoe
Mm-hmm.
for that foot.
Yeah.
He went to the doctor. Well, he died in March. I
He
don't know,
died this year?
No, back, I think 1958 he died.
Yeah.
And I went over to see him. He's working afternoon shift. He said, boy, I just come back from the doctor. I said, I've got 100% okay. I'm going to retire in June. And everything. He went to work and dropped dead of a heart attack
I'm not
Mm,
ashamed.
mm.
Where was he working then?
at Breaksville.
He went to work in the mines when he got through with all this World War
Oh,
I
yeah.
stuff?
He was-
Yeah. This is your brother Joe. He was your idol.
Right.
What did he do at Barrackville all these years?
Well, he
World War
was,
I.
he was a tailor for a long time. When he got out of the service,
Where did he learn to tailor?
the man by the name of Rassy in Fairmont had a tailor shop. And he worked under him.
He apprenticed on it.
And then the government paid for that. They paid him so much a month for going to school. They tried to get him to go to college, but hell, you can't go to college if you don't have.
He never went to grade school.
Never went to
yeah.
grade school, you know.
Yeah.
So he turned out to be a good tailor, and then he went back to
He
coal.
wanted to make more money, huh?
Yeah, went back to coal mine.
He had started as a very young boy in the mines.
Right.
Now he went back to it.
Went back to it till he
And he
died.
worked at Barrackville the whole time?
No, he worked at 93. I got him a job down there, and then he thought he'd be better himself, and he went to Bricksville, which he did. He was on a supply motor down at Bricksville,
Until 58.
58.
Okay. That's the only brother you really had that spent his later years in the mine, up till the time
Yeah.
you did in past.
Now, Louis, he got out of the mines in around right after the war. He worked in the mines a little bit, and he got in trouble during that strike.
The bosses strike? or
No,
which
they got on picket line. He turning trucks over, coal trucks, and hauling scab coal.
one? That was in World War II?
1922.
22. Oh, yeah, that big strike, yeah.
Yeah, and they had to leave town. And he went to Graff and he learned to be a cook there, and then he went to Detroit. And he cooked for the better houses down there, and then he lost both legs up to here.
How did that happen?
Bone cancer. They started at his foot, and then his one leg, and then they got the other one off. And he lived 10 years after they took his.
Mm.
He left
He had a hard time. didn't he?
4 children. And of course, the government, they had a place there on Joy Road for the veterans where they could get in.
You went to see him in Detroit?
Oh, yeah. They paid $27 a month for rent. They cut their lawn for them, and they hauled their garbage and furnished stove, refrigerator,
Yeah.
and stuff. But it was one of those low-income
Yeah,
housing.
yeah.
But he could have been a rich man, and he didn't have sense enough to.
Louis?
Yeah.
Why was that? How could he make it?
Well, he made a lot of money, and he gambled it too much.
What did he make it doing?
Cooking. He used to cook for the country club down at Grosse
Oh, but
Point.
he was a good cook.
Grosse Point, and he worked for.
Oh, very wealthy.
Yeah, and he worked for Joe Muir. He was a head chef there. He had 28 cooks under him. This one place on Gratiot Street in Detroit, where all the ball team ate there and everything.
Now, you skipped over your own career as a ball player. You were pretty active once.
Well, I was pretty fair. Played in Trico League and Sandlot.
Let's talk about, where did you start out? When you were playing ball as a young kid in
Yes.
Watson?
Well,
Watson was very active ball player.
Oh yeah, Sandlot, and
I'm trying to think. I know. You remember that picture appeared about a year ago of the Watson ball team
well,
in
that
the
was
local paper?
a little bit before my
Henry,
time.
but who was that? It showed in 1915,
Yeah.
before you were old enough to be
Yeah,
playing.
that was Pete Seipel was the head.
Disciples, yeah.
Yeah, Pete Seipel.
Because I talked that over with the guy that was in that picture. He told me each member of the, who the
Yes.
woman was in that picture.
Charlie
everything.
Seipel, Ronald Hartley.
You're right.
and-
Disciples were a couple
Bill
of them.
Julian.
They were a little older than you.
Oh yeah.
But Watson was a hot ball player.
Oh, he was a hot
Most
town.
ball
Uh-huh.
camps were that way,
Well,
weren't they?
if you're a good ball player, you got a job in the mine, you didn't have to work.
Yeah.
You just laid in the cross cut.
The companies sponsored the teams.
Yeah,
They were like industrial
It was
leagues,
a
right?
rivalry against the different mines.
Right. So New England Coal would sponsor. They'd
Right.
carry the ball players on their payroll. They didn't really expect them to do anything but sleep in a crosscut somewhere, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Now, did you get on that way? Were you
No.
good enough to get on that
No,
way?
I was. They'd done away with that when Harry Tanner was super out there. He sponsored a team, but he tried to make it as nice as he could.
Yeah.
And, while I was working at 93, I was laboring down there then, and we'd been on strike 59 days.
What year?
It
You
had
went
to
to
be-
work in 33 and
had
you're
to
still
be-
at Georgia.
It had to be in 39 or 40. No,
Okay.
38. 1938.
38, just before they closed Georgia.
Yeah, and
There was a strike there then?
yeah, that 93.
What was the reason for that strike? I didn't
Yeah.
know there was was it a national strike or just a
Well,
Georgia?
the coal company, and it ended on Monday, and I went to work on Tuesday, and I worked Wednesday, and I was scheduled to pitch Wednesday night. And Mary, which is my wife, said, "Sam, don't go up there. You just started to work. Something might happen."
Go up
Stanley-
to where? What do you mean don't go up to
the ball diamond.
Yeah.
Didn't want me to go play ball. Stanley was 8 months old. So I go up in the second inning, I get hit
Right there.
right there,
Put you out of commission, didn't it?
59 days.
Did they have to operate on your
No.
testicles or do anything?
No, it was,
Your testicles swelled up
Like,
like a watermelon, yeah.
and old doctor, he was out at Watson there, he lived out there.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of his
Ah,
name.
you'll think of his name.
And he said, "Well,
He's
Sam,"
not the same one with the white horses.
no, no,
from,
that was
Nancy.
way after his time. Anyhow, I asked him when I could get up. He said, "Well, Sam," he said, "when you can get a jockey strap, get it in this jockey strap, you can get up."
They really did nothing but wait it out. Give you something for pain and wait for it
just
to
waited.
go
I
down.
just laid in bed with my legs
Spread eagles, huh?
spread eagled, and that was it.
Where were you, in Cook Hospital? Which one?
No, at home.
You stayed at home.
Stayed
That
at
was
home.
Where did they carry you to? Where was that ball diamond that you got rid of?
Just, I'd say about 300 foot from where I lived.
Yeah, and she was worried, and there it went and came true, right? You lost a
And-
lot of time.
And
there.
what hurt me most, she didn't say, "I told you so."
Mhm,
She never said a word to me.
mhm. She knew you were hurt then.
And
Yeah.
of course, then I got feeling pretty good and went back to work.
Mhm. Now, you played in the tri-state, was that coal? league?
Tri-coal.
What do they call it?
Tri-coal. Tri-state.
Tri-coal.
Well,
It was tri-state.
Rogersville, Pennsylvania.
Now, was Rogersville itself a coal town?
No.
No, what isn't?
No, but
Hundreds not. Littleton's
No,
not,
no.
but you
Four-
called it the coal
Four
league.
states,
'cause
Monongah, Watson.
though those were the coal towns,
Right.
right? Four states, Monongah. Did any of the, like Monongah had a famous ball player later, I can't think of his name.
Schrader.
No, name another one. There was a black ball player.
Oh,
came
Jones.
out. Yeah, yeah.
Sam Jones.
Yeah, Sam Jones.
Uh,
He came out of Monongah.
yeah.
He was almost like the, I'm thinking, Sam Huff, came
Yeah.
famous
Well,
out of Farmington.
Chuck Trader played professional ball.
Oh,
out
wait a
there.
minute, yeah. Did you know, yeah, I'll tell you who knew. You probably knew Harold Trader, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sure. And
Yeah,
Chuck
Trader.
was a good pitcher. He pitched in the Mid-Atlantic League.
Yeah, Chuck Trader came out of Monongah
Yeah.
and Sam Jones.
Red Baird come out of Carolina.
Yeah. Was Carolina one of the towns in
Yeah.
the league? Okay.
Carolina.
So let me
four
see if I
states.
can name the league. Rogersville, Littleton, 100, four states, Monongah, Carolina,
And Watson.
and Watson. And that was the whole league?
That was the league.
So when you look at the last group in it, the last four towns are just solid coal.
Solid coal.
West Virginia coal. Well, there's one more. Was there 8 in the league? What was in the league? There's maybe one more
I
listed.
can't recall.
Littleton and 100 and Rogersville were not
See,
coal towns.
Pop Shriver, he pitched for the Brooklyn Dodgers. If you
Where did
look-
he come from?
He come from
Which team?
Littleton.
Littleton.
Uh,
That was Pop Shriver.
Pop Shriver. He
Went
pitched-
to the Dodgers.
He pitched for the Dodgers, and then he came
That
back.
was the Brooklyn
Yeah.
Dodgers, huh?
And wait a minute now. 100. Bill Six. Bill Six was a pro ball player from 100.
SIX.
Yeah, Bill Six.
What did he play?
Well, he didn't play too much. He was old. He managed the team at 100.
At 100. What about Sam Jones came from Monongahela? You named a couple of more guys I didn't know.
Chuck Trader.
Chuck Trader. Where did he go? What's
Well, he played in the Middle Atlantic League.
Sam Jones went to the majors, didn't
Yeah.
he? That's where I first started.
And then Biz Dawson, now you know him. He played with Cincinnati Reds.
And he came from
Well, I really don't know where he came from.
which
but
one
he,
of these? Okay.
He used to work for the mine machine.
But you
mine
named
machine.
one of them. Carolina produced somebody. You said.
Red Baird.
What?
Red.
Red.
Red Baird. B-Y-R-A-D.
B-Y-A-R-D. Bayard. Red Bayard. And where did he go? To what team? Do you remember?
No.
Was he in the majors? Or
no, he could have made any major team. He just too much.
Who did Sam Jones play for? I know he played for a major club.
He played for the Giants for a while.
The Giants, yeah.
Yeah,
He was traded, and were a couple of them.
traded to Chicago, I believe.
Mhm.
And he come out of the league a poor man, you might as well say.
Yeah, he's a poor guy.
Never
I
saved-
never went to visit. I should have gone and interviewed him because he was around in
Never
Monongahela
saved
when
any. Never saved
saved any. No.
I mean, what are you going
Now,
to do?
Sam Huff's different.
Yeah, you trying to write a book on this? I mean, or
Oh, the whole coal thing. Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm trying to do on coal. Let me explain this to you so you can ask me anything you want to about it. Yeah. At Fairmont State College, when I lived in Fairmont, I started a course called The People of Coal, okay? And I have just hundreds and hundreds of slides and pictures of the old days, okay? Then I have recollections of a lot of people. And what I'm trying to put together is like a book that'll give a sense of the flavor of what everything from the folklore, the folk songs, the legends about the people calling, and the style of life, and what happened in coal, you follow me?
Mhm.
What there tends to be otherwise is either cold economic histories of the company or just labor histories, you follow me, of the union and its struggles. And all that's part of it, but that's not as rich as what was happening to the people throughout, you see?
right.
And so everything's part of it, from Merle Travis's 16 Tons to the different ethnic legends and the feel of the thing and so forth. And that's why I enjoy and always have, and what that course up there attracted was a lot of old timers who came forward. Some of them. Yeah, this is when you would be working at the Watson mine in New England, and you'd come out of the mines, you'd be covered with a black
covered with
grime,
dust and stuff, and they'd stop and stare at you.
They'd stop and stare at you. Yeah, you
What-
were like something out of a film.
What's this guy?
Yeah.
What's this guy here?
Well, I'll tell you where this first occurred. You're asking me a question. How did I was connected with the coal industry in this kind of distant or friendly or connected way, say for 35, 40 years. And then the Farmington number 9 disaster came along. Okay, I spent the whole 10 days out there, and in the course of it I met all of the national press. That was on TV for
Right.
10 days. And I was in charge of the support for the families in the rescue operation, the social workers, the nurses, the doctor. Remember, 8 guys were
Right.
pulled out of
Shaft
that
there.
shaft at Maud's
Yeah,
Run.
I know George real well.
Right. Well, I know
Buddy-
George. Yeah, you
good
know the
buddy of
section
mine,
boss?
yeah.
That's how I've interviewed him.
Uh,
Point was, by then I already had a good acquaintance, but it struck me the press handling of that. I'm not critical of them. I understand why they have to do these things, just like covering a convention. In effect, what each reporter would be asking, they'd say, well, would you go down to the mine? And let me give you an example, okay? And some guy who'd come out alive, he'd say, I just hope I don't get laid off. He said, well, what in the world would make a guy like you, after something like this happened to you, go back down to the mine? It was like there was such a gap between the way the people who lived in coal felt and the way the nation felt. You follow me, through these reporters? It was like they were in two different worlds, you follow me? And that was when I first began. I'll be very happy to see if the office is still open. I can get you some copies, or I'll mail them to you. I began doing the first articles called The Lifestyle of the Coal Miner, trying to explain this gap, you follow me? How the coal miners felt and how the nation felt, you follow me? It's very different.
Like Charlie said, I said, Charlie, you going? Well, he said, I got to eat.
That's right.
So he goes back and works at number 9.
That's
after.
your nephew,
Yeah.
Charlie Beafore, who
Right.
walked out. Now, he probably worked, I assume, what was he doing in the mine at that point? Where was he working? At the other end where he
Yeah,
didn't even hear the
he was on a
explosion?
separate.
He might have been down here at the,
That's what saved their life. They was on a separate split of air.
well,
It's,
if he was part of that, see, 21 men walked out of there. Now, some of them were from the hump back this way on the mainline motors and all. That was still all right. They made
Right.
it. The ones on the far side got trapped,
Got
okay?
trapped.
But most of those men came out of, I think it was called A section or something
Right,
down in
yeah.
here. Now, they really had trouble there. They'd had a fire, a 45-minute fire a few months before. That mine, the more I studied it, the less I believed about what they said, you know.
He told me he got mad that morning when they called him out.
Yeah.
They didn't tell him what was wrong.
Well, they didn't hear the explosion. They didn't
No,
know anything.
they
They called him by telephone.
Told him to come out.
Yeah.
And he wanted to know why they disrupted they sit down and
Was,
rest.
who was Charlie Beafore? Was he a boss at that
No,
point? Was
he operated the mine.
he operated a mine.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And
He's your nephew. He's whose son?
Joe.
Joe's son.
Joe's son. And he said, here they're knocking us out of a day's work. And they sit down and rest. Then when they found out what happened, why, he changed his tune. Now I want to ask you a question. Did you meet a fellow down there by the name of Frank Memmott? He come out of Udall's office during the
Oh,
explosion.
Yeah, but did you talk with him, or how do you know him?
Oh, he's a good friend of mine. He's a state senator in Utah.
No, I think I remember Udall at that point was in his Interior Secretary, right? And he
Right.
was on his staff.
Yeah,
What was his name?
Frank Memmott.
M.
Memmott, I think.
And he's a state senator in
He
Utah
used-
to this
used to be-
day. Do you
he
stay
was
in touch with him?
a state senator
Mhm.
in Utah.
He came to the explosion.
Oh yeah, he spent some time here with Jess Byers and them.
Questioning about the thing. There were a lot of people in here. See, I was, you remember Leonard Panakovich
Oh,
and a
yeah.
whole bunch of people. Because I was in one section, I was in charge of like the support services up here. Down at the mine during those 10 days, the press was kept away from it, would be the Bureau of Mines, the State Mines Department, the company in the UMW, what's called a four parties take charge,
Take
like of a
charge.
disaster, you know. And I would go back and forth there. Very often I just hang around because if I could get in, I was lucky. You'd want to listen to things. You'd realize the dilemma they were faced with. They had all these mine rescue crews in from middle of West Virginia,
Oh.
all over northern West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and seldom did they risk him. You remember they sent them
Right.
in a little ways. They didn't know how to. They'd never seen such a thing. In other words, that mine should have been sealed, and public pressure was beyond belief.
Yeah,
You know?
that mine. If that mine was sealed the day it blew up,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have had half the damage.
Well, and the point was, it was the first illustration, and I could see it was beyond the participants to deal
yeah.
with. It was the first mine disaster that got onto national TV. And from then on, you got the Federal Coal Mine Health and Safety Act, you had the reform movement overthrowing Tony Boyle. Now, as a consequence of it, there was almost a revolution in the
Right.
coal industry.
I
and
know
the
one
union
family
stuff.
said, if you seal that mine, we're going to get a lawyer and fight
Don't you remember on TV?
Yeah. And,
It was the first time within, you see, if you remember, the Hayden disaster was after that. They sealed that mine like that. Why? It takes about 48 hours to get into eastern Kentucky, to those horrible places, not to Fairmont. They, within 8 hours, could have a private plane, you know what I mean, have TV crews in here, everything. Hustle them, find them, fly them in. You can't fly into some of those airports. And this is the first time it was on national TV within hours, and from then on you couldn't control it.
the news media kept it boiling,
Well,
They kept
and let me
the-
tell you, it also changed American public opinion.
right?
Your Congress could do nothing but pass the most stringent safety and health
Safety,
legislation.
that's right.
There's no question that some of it's a revolution. It goes beyond the British legislation.
Now, this Tarley boy, he said, my
The
brother's
black lung
in-
benefits. You want to know the truth? They're the highest black lung benefits in the world. We came from the most backward country. The British knew there was pneumoconiosis. The American doctors denied it existed. There'd be a few doctors at Fairmont Clinic believed in it. Rasmussen at Beckley believed in it. Average American doctor in the AMA said no such disease. Doesn't exist, okay? They never would acknowledge the disease. They never would give a benefit for it. Like that, you had Congress pass federal black lung benefits. You know, I mean, everything came out of that Farmington number 9.
Well, I know all my X-rays here and every place showed I had black lung. My breathing was
Yeah,
below.
you couldn't win. And I don't know whether you remember Dr. Hunter was here. He was a
Yeah.
constant national witness. He
And
testified on it. They
from
ignored it.
1970, I didn't get anything until 1978.
Well, but you finally got it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I finally got it, and
Yeah.
it's a godsend.
It is a
I don't know
godsend,
how we
and they
did.
paid it retroactive, probably.
And
didn't
I-
they?
and I don't know
Didn't they
how-
give you a retroactive payment?
$27,000.
Well, you
Just
just think
that-
about that.
yeah.
This clinic sometimes turns in stuff right now. There've been people walk in here and say, if you want a photograph of this check, you know, I owe it all to you, it'd be 36. I mean, it's amazing sums, you
And
know.
I
people-
fought that thing, and finally,
I'm glad you appealed it.
my nephew is a lawyer, Stan Salone,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I give it to him. And
Yeah.
of course, he didn't stab me in the back like
Right.
some of them. He said, "Whatever you want to give me, Uncle Choppy,
Mhm.
will be all right with me."
Right. He's
So-
right here in town, isn't he? son?
Yeah. And
Whose son is he? I don't even know.
Well, Frank, he's dead. Frank Sansalone. That's my wife's older sister's son.
Oh, it's
Terry.
on your wife's side, huh?
Uh-huh. And his fee was $5,000. He said, "I'll tell you what I'll do." He said, "We'll split it down the middle."
What's his first name, sir?
Frank.
Frank, yeah.
Frank
I know.
Sansom.
I know his name here at the lawyer.
And his brothers, two brothers in Cincinnati, are engineers on the planning. They're in the city planning.
Mhm.
Yeah, I said, "Junior, you go ahead and work on it. And if we get anything out of it, you can get your cut." And
Mhm.
of course, I got $3,900 from the state when I went there but I had to pay it. They held it out of my $27,000,
Yeah,
which
it's
is not
complicated.
any
No,
more.
it's complicated, and you may have come in '78. I don't know who yours is charged against. It may be
Federal.
charged against the feds.
Federal.
The ones that are toughest are the new ones, which are charged against the companies, because they will appeal them to create.
Here's Harry Lowe, lives on, I don't know whether you know him or not, 6th Street.
Mhm.
He got a check of $27,000, but he can't cash it. The company appealed. But still, every month they send him $381.
Mhm.
If he's not entitled, why are they paying him these monthly?
I don't know. It's very complicated, and it's now much more difficult because the companies, by being able to appeal, can delay it tremendously longer. You know.
My brother-in-law now, he worked 40, it's the only place he ever worked, 42 years, and it's mine. And
Who is your brother-in-law?
Tom, my wife's brother, Tommy, and the company says they don't have no records of him working in the mine.
What's his last name?
Peluso,
Tommy Peluso. When did he begin in the mines, your wife?
in 1932, and he worked up until the time he retired.
Which mine?
He worked at Watson Mine and 93.
Now, are you saying he's still denied his benefits?
Yeah,
What's his name?
Peluso,
P-A-L.
P-L-U-S-O. In fact, my wife said maybe
How old is he now?
he's 67
He started at Watson.
in 32.
Uh-huh.
In fact, my wife and I said maybe Mr. Ross, since he's down at the clinic, could help him
Yeah.
out.
Well, I think there are things that can be done. Has he been tested here?
Yeah, he's
And is he retired now
oh yeah,
from work?
he's been retired.
And they're denying him no matter
Denying
how
him.
much he's appealed it, huh? And are they still denying that there are
He
records
got a
of
letter. He got a letter here about I don't know 8 months
Yeah.
ago that his claim was being processed. He's never heard no more or anything.
I think they'd be very happy to, let me just see what we can do to help. Tom started at Watson in 32.
32.
How long did he stay there?
Until they shut the mine down.
38.
And then
Where did he go?
He went to 93. Of course, he had a span of 4 years in the service, I guess, which counted in his
So
record.
closed in 38. Then where did he start it next time?
93. Right
World
after
War II. What branch was he in the military?
infantry.
Infantry.
Yeah. Well, in fact,
Till 43?
they drafted him His dad, no, his dad died in 45. He was in the service in 45.
So 45.
But they drafted him in Butte, Montana to work in the copper mines.
All right, now that's important. There were coal miners sent right to copper. I know
Yeah,
that because I kept the records
The
on some of
Army,
these guys.
the Army
right.
sent him.
The Army.
Either Nevada or Montana. I think it was Montana.
Well, probably Butte, Montana. That was the biggest place
Biggest
that
place.
the records show
And
they
he worked
sent
in the
him
copper
to.
mines there.
Drafted to send, sure, to the Butte copper mines. So he spent the most of World War II in the copper mines?
Right. And then when
Is that all he ever did besides the infantry?
That's all.
Okay.
And
World War II.
all of his time, he's worked in the coal mines.
And then what did he do when he came out in 45? Where?
Back at 93. And
Now, had he gone to 93 and 39 or 38?
yeah, right in 38. He went right after, as soon as they shut the mine down, they transferred some of them to 93.
All right. And he stayed at number 93
Till he retired.
till what year? Let me ask if he's getting a UMW 1950 pension.
No, he's getting
A 74?
74.
So when did he retire? It had to be after 74.
After 74. It was in,
Till retired. You're not saying they're really denying that he was there and they got the records of retirement and denying it, are they?
that's right. He said, of course, he's got all of his papers.
It's so ridiculous
all
to
his
deny that, you know?
And Frank Sansalone took and sent him in.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got a letter here about 8 months ago, or maybe a year or so ago.
Oh, yeah.
Your
I'll tell you what I'd be very happy to do if he'll get in touch with me is I've drafted several letters directly to Mollahan from here or to Robert Byrd. Review a guy's record, okay? And say, since I know them both over the years, say, I want you to intervene into the Department of Labor hearings, you follow me? What he does is scared a living. You follow me? If you give him the facts, he just sends an assistant down to talk to the administrative law judge or something. You follow me? And say, is this really necessary to keep this thing on appeal forever? Or can we get a higher priority here? And, you know, it shoves you in front of other people, you know, because he has a lot of back pay tied up.
Oh, yeah. So see what really messed me up.
But this is black lung benefits.
Black lung benefit. Now he got the state when he went down there.
Yet he's getting 1974 UMW pension.
I think it runs $500 and something a month. Their pension does.
Okay, and medical benefits.
Medical benefits.
If you don't mind, I'll be here all this week before I leave. He can just call me at this number and they'll forward the call up. You talk with him, don't you?
Oh, Tom?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
he's able to talk to me
Oh,
coherently
yeah. In fact,
about
he
it.
was at the house today.
Just tell him I'll be very happy because I have this set of facts and I dictate the letter here, that's all. It's like I brought in some dictation from a luncheon meeting I had. That'll take me, a couple hours to put it on a belt and then a typist will take it off. But I try to, to me the matter is not a case of like studying it like a student. I've lived with the miners, I know them, I sympathize with them. So, I'm more interested in getting something done. I may put that in front of doing the book. The publisher keeps saying, what are you taking so long getting the book and all the pictures in? I get interested in other things in between.
See, now his mother gets black lung.
That's due to his father.
Yeah, it's not
You see,
much.
one of the sad things about black lung is they could keep denying you. Say they kept denying you, then you drop dead and your heirs would get it.
That's
Your widow
right.
would get it. That's easy then. You
And-
know why that's called a presumption is almost ironclad for the widow.
Then his sister gets it too because she's mentally
Yeah, right.
little
But
bit.
you see what I mean? The whole thing is weird, isn't it? It's like if you're dead, the proof is much easier. See?
Right.
We know that here because they come in all the time and examine the evidence. I'd say this clinic is responsible at this point for 9,650 people we know of drawing black lung benefits. That much evidence has come out of just this one building. And yet, a lot of those people don't always know that. In other words, we know when they come in of what they're looking for. What's so sad is sometimes they get here, the guy's been denied it and denied it on what's called there's no presumption. So it's ambiguous. Did he have pneumonia or did he have, or whatever. You follow me? They won't admit it's pneumoconiosis, okay, or some degree of it. Let's say he drops dead tomorrow. They come in, They look at it again. Oh, under Section 501 or something now, the widow has a presumption. This is ironclad. If this only shows pneumonia, Fairmont Clinic's got all the evidence in the world, and they've mailed her a goddamn check for a fortune. Isn't that a sham shame instead of him knowing he got it?
That's what a buddy of mine told me. He said, Sam, he said, when I die, my wife will get it.
There's no question you get. I mean,
No.
do you know if they come in here, I've looked at some of those records when I was here all those years, if I can show he coughed, I don't mean we can invent it, but if not, in 1961 he walked in and complained of a cough to Dr. Kashoni, who's long dead and gone himself, that's it. Why? That's a lung ailment, and the widow presumption is so strong you have to presume he had pneumoconiosis if he coughed. See?
And
yet if I show him an X-ray and can say, look, it's a shadow here, it could be emphysema. We don't know what it is. It's like that Dr. Morgan that's so famous.
I'll tell you one thing.
Dr. Morgan believes there is no black lung. You see, he
Doc
believes
Hamlin, he don't write no letters of recommendation, you know.
Yeah,
And he wrote me one of the nicest letters,
Yeah.
what I had and what was
Yeah.
wrong with me.
yeah.
And he said, Sam, this is the first one I've ever wrote.
Well, I know.
And they didn't pay any attention to it.
No, they ignore it.
I'll tell you, the guy showed me a rough time here was Roberts.
Who?
Roberts, the guy that give the
Jim
air.
Roberts?
Uh,
Oh, and said breathe deeper, breathe deeper.
You
yeah.
ain't breathing hard enough.
Yeah.
I told him one day, I said, damn it, you breathe. I'm
Well,
breathing the
he's
best
not,
I
he's gone from it. Do you know that? He's working down, there's a lot of people complain because we told him there's no point. You got to explain to people what it is that you're doing, what is the federal mandate, okay? And he just, his personality would make him, you know, it's like a coach, you follow me?
A lot of these guys take the attitude like it's coming out of their pocket.
Yeah.
And
right.
he showed it 2 or 3 times. I quit. I said, no,
Yeah.
no more. Then I got an appointment with Charleston, and they put me through the mill down there.
Oh, they do say
Yeah.
or Rasmussen's thing at Beckley. You see, now Dr. Rasmussen comes up here all the time. He works on our program, but he's the biggest one in the state in these matters.
They put me through them breathing tests. They put me on the bicycle. They put me on the treadmill. They put me up the steps and down the steps,
Yeah,
up the
right.
steps and down the
They
steps.
test you to death, don't they?
And I quit smoking in '53 because,
Yeah.
you know, when you worked in the coal mines years before, you couldn't see your light in front of your face for the
Wow.
coal dust.
Wouldn't you admit, I mean, the companies are lying in the teeth if they don't admit how much dust was in those
Oh,
mines.
you-
I mean, if you went underground before those federal laws, you couldn't see the continuous miner ever, could you? You
I-
could work on the other side of it.
I could come home and get up the next morning and spit, and I'd spit dust.
The
And
next morning,
and
8 hours
and-
sleep, yeah.
And I'd go back the next day and get another belly full.
Well, now you were a section boss. Isn't it fair to say there was no question the mines were so loaded with dust, anybody working at the face was totally exposed to
That's right. And
black lung.
I stayed with my crew right up at the face.
Right. And you know, here are the companies, same companies, trying to appeal and deny guys that spent lifetimes under those conditions in the mines, appealing, right? And they got a doctor at West Virginia University. You read enough to keep up with that. Keith Morgan,
Yeah.
he's a theoretician, a scientist who says there is no pneumoconiosis. There's only cigarette smoking.
Maybe he's making a bundle on it.
You know who he works for? We know he's on retainer with the coal operators
You take when we was
Association.
at the Watson mine, you go in there, you find your place cut. So you shovel a little bug dust out front and clean out under the cut. So when you shoot it, it'd have space to shoot down. Well, if you miss a turn, the driver don't give you no empty, he'll skip you. So just as soon as you shoot the place, you jump in there, you inhale that dust, that smoke.
Now that's the explosive smoke here,
Yeah,
first thing. Yeah.
see, yeah.
And the coal dust hasn't settled also.
And you get a terrific headache by inhaling that
Yeah.
fumes off of the powder that's
But
exploded.
if you don't jump in, you're not going to be, if you load, you're not going to get a
You're not gonna get
car.
a turn, and then maybe you have to go in the next day, because they won't cut your place, you go in there for a car or two, and come out. See? So,
The production pressure that the companies put on, wasn't that what you're describing?
Right.
Was such that it made it impossible to,
a lot of days we'd go in there and sit till 1 o'clock before we got our first empty. Quitting time at 3.
which meant you couldn't load coal,
You couldn't load no coal.
and you could, by not loading coal, you didn't make any money.
And if you come out and didn't wait, he'd penalize you for a week. He wouldn't let you work.
Yeah.
You didn't want to stay in there and load coal, so
Right.
you can take a week off. And you had to go to the store and beg him for a couple $1 script so you could buy groceries to eat on.
Yeah. As bad as the drilling and the blasting was, don't you believe that once they got the continuous miners moving, at a point before they had safety and health legislation, that was probably the dustiest it ever was, because if you were at the base,
Oh, you couldn't see.
and they would have hoses on some of those, they wouldn't care if they worked or not, wouldn't they?
That's
They'd
right.
just keep working. The
Well,
rule book would say, don't work without.
You know what the boss say? Go ahead, I'll go up and see what's wrong with the water. I'll try to get you some water.
You keep
But
pretty-
just keep,
yeah.
keep.
In other words, you're the section boss,
keep
you're with your
going.
crew, right, at that point?
Yeah, that's right.
And you'd say, hey, this is really bad, there's no water, there's no spray coming out.
Oh, I got a lot of hell for taking my crew out.
You
and
would
it wouldn't-
pull them back because there
wouldn't-
was too much dust?
No water. A lot
No
of time.
water out of the spray, you're talking about on the
Yeah.
machine, yeah.
Well, it just, you could, a stream like, that's about all it'd be.
Yeah. And there's supposed to be enough water to keep the dust
Now
down.
you take these there high walls they got in the mine now. I guess you know what they are. They got a block of coal, like that blackboard there, maybe 500, 600, 700 feet this way, 400 feet that way. Long wall,
yeah.
and they start to slabbing. Well, them guys come out, you don't know whether a chunk of coal or they're so dusty that.
And that's the latest, that's the most modern.
That's today.
Well, and that's supposed to be under modern ventilating conditions and all, and how could they get that dusty if it wasn't just everywhere?
In fact, who did I talk to the other day? He said, I go in there, he said, I don't know whether it's me or who it is coming out there after, even the section boss comes out that way.
You're saying the dust, even today, under conditions where they say there's so little dust per milligram or per centimeter, that it shouldn't be causing anybody any more black lung,
Oh,
it still is.
It's still
right
there, yes, sir.
But the worst was still, I think, like up to the time of I remember going underground a great deal up till '69. And the commonest thing was not being able to see during continuous miner. It was working under such dusty conditions. The headlights on the buggies, nothing would reflect anything but dust.
Dust, what? You take another thing. When we was hand loading, you cut a place today, and it had a chance to liberate its gas and
Yeah.
go. But with a miner, you're driving straight ahead in one place.
You're very right.
And
Yeah.
all
Well, how
that-
about doing that at Loveridge, which is liberating 25 million cubic feet of methane gas a day?
Well, at 90,
Shit, okay.
at 93,
Yeah.
even when we was hand loading down there, you'd go to put your powder in a hole, and it would blow it out.
You've seen the methane blow the powder.
Oh, blow it out. You had
Just
to
a
take
fissure of powder.
you had to take a dummy
Yeah.
with your powder and shove it back there and tap it to keep it from blowing out. And a lot of times we cut
Which means you cut a drill hole in and it had hit into a pocket of methane. It was
yeah.
just blowing out.
blowing out. And a lot of times you cut a place and you'd have to leave it set maybe 6-7 hours before
Yeah.
you could clear the gas out of it.
And there was no superintendents coming around to tell you as a section, but hey, test for gas,
Oh.
test for ventilation. Huh?
I used to get a kick out of Wayne Spanugle. He's my cutting machine helper. I say, Wayne, go down there and test that place. And he'd go down there and
He'd run his hand
He-
on his
what he
finger
said,
on his
hold it.
tongue, yeah.
he said, it's in here, Sam. He's an old guy. I said, you better use your light, Wayne.
He wasn't using any lamp at
No,
all, was he? Yeah.
He said, I know it's here.
What did he have, a wolf safety lamp or something? He should
Yeah.
have been holding up, but he was holding his finger.
Finger up.
He'd wet his finger on his tongue and hold it
And I
up.
go in there and I tell you, one time I
I
walked.
bet you'd take the lamp right out, wouldn't it? It was
Yeah,
so strong.
I walked in a place one time, it's cutting side cut. We drove a place up and I had my light hanging on my belt and they put my light out,
Just like that.
just like that.
You were surrounded with guys.
And I never said anything to him, so I walked up to the face. We'd drove up 90-some feet and then come back and,
This was with a cutting machine?
yeah, we dead ended this dang, we shouldn't have done it. Well, the company, we should have cut a cross cut for
Yeah,
ventilation.
yeah. You were
And-
90 feet without a crosscut.
And I went up there and boy, it was loaded. So we had curtains up too. I never said anything to him. I just went out on
Curtains
the main
couldn't
line.
take it off
I
fast enough.
was afraid if I'd tell him he'd shut that machine off and spark. So I went way back there and pulled the
Yeah,
the
that's
string off of the wire. And he come rushing out there, what's the matter? What's the matter? And I told him, I said, Frank, put your light up there. Frank Hickson. I said,
that was
"My-"
at which mine?
93.
Yeah.
I said, my God, he said, we could have blown this thing up.
Well, if he'd shut his machine down, sparked it,
Sparked,
it would have
shut
gone.
the controller off.
Yeah, but not everybody's that far-sighted. They can't be expected to be. You can blame them, but the point is that's how a lot of damn places went.
And honestly, now I'm not telling you this. If I had a bad place, if I sent a man in there, I went in with him. I didn't say I'll stand up here in the corner and listen.
But there were bosses that did that
Yeah,
too.
you go ahead and I'll sit
Yeah.
back here and listen.
They were like a general with a private.
Right.
Yeah.
Not me. If I was afraid to go in a place, I wouldn't send a man in the place.
Well, you probably caught some hell for pulling your crews back then,
Right.
because you must have pulled them out of gas sometimes.
I have.
You withdrew them or you retreated them, and they don't like that.
Bethlehem Steel is the best company I ever worked for.
I've heard that a great deal.
He
That's
come up
pretty
there
good.
and he found just, one time we was cleaning up a place, we had about a ton of
What
coal.
was that super that drank a lot that lived? He was a neighbor of mine.
Harry Hall?
No, keep going to a more recent one that was at
Uh,
Ida. Were you at Barrackville or this was Ida May? He was
I know who
he
you
was
mean.
heavy. They laid him off for drinking. They sent him away.
Yeah,
I lived on Outlook Road behind Fairmont West, and he lived right there.
I know
third
his
house
name
up.
as well as mine.
I know him, and I knew his wife after he died. You remember him?
Hell, we used to go to the
Yeah.
coach.
I know you know who I mean.
Yeah, he used to run them
He
women
was a
down.
nice guy, but he was typical of the kind of supers and division men they had. They were much better than Consol or
And
anything.
he was kind of snotty too,
But they'd back a man up on safety. If
Oh,
that
yeah.
was the issue, you retreated the man, they didn't
And,
debate it with you.
we used to go to Pittsburgh, when
Did
they
you?
had the
Gold
and-
shows?
Yeah, and he'd run them women down in the hotel down the hall barefooted. And, oh, you'd never seen such.
He was a lunatic, huh?
Yeah, he was at Birchville the last when he got.
Oh, I guess it was Barracks, but yeah.
And they
He
sent
almost
him-
was a division head.
They sent him away then.
They sent him away. He did drink too much. They tried to cure him because they wanted to use him.
Harry Hall was that way too. Did you know Harry Hall?
I knew him when I first got
He-
into the
he-
thing, yeah.
He drank a lot when he got out.
Before this guy moved up. He
Yeah.
moved up into his job.
Harry always treated me good. He gave me a lot of business when
After you went to selling.
went to sell 'em.
Yeah. You were selling in the tough years.
And
Those
I used
50s
to
were
work-
low production, declining profits.
My theory was I didn't have an education. I didn't have the bull like some of them salesmen, but I was honest.
And you knew the business.
I was honest with it. I wasn't looking for a one-shot deal.
Yeah.
I sell you $15,000
Yeah.
worth, and that's it. And then I
Yeah.
sell him, and that's it.
Yeah.
Pretty soon you've
Well,
run your course.
A superintendent is like an administrator. He's up in his office on the surface. But you must have gone underground with him a lot of times.
Oh,
They'd
yes.
ask you to accompany him or tell you what you could do better, or they'd complain about something for you to straighten it
You
out.
see down there at Glenville there, the super down there, he called me up and said, we're having trouble with your bits, Sam. He said they won't drill. So I go down there and they're using a inch and 3/4 drill and an inch and 3/4 bit. It ain't clearing the hole enough
Right.
to let your drill go in there.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, well, you either got to cut down to an inch and a half drill with
Yeah.
an inch and 3/4 bit. And it panned out and everything was going okay.
Right.
But if you don't work with them, why?
Oh, I think so.
You're-
That's
you're-
the key
you're in
to it.
trouble.
Right. Now, when you played in the Tri-State League, you played for Watson.
For was.
What position did you
I
play?
played in the outfield.
Pretty variable. They can
Yeah.
shift you around.
Right
You ever
around.
moved up to shortstop or something?
Once in a while I
Usually
play
out.
second base.
How were you on hitting? You running pretty good?
Well, sometimes I hit pretty good. Now, Four States had a pitcher, Happy Hard, and he was one of the better pitchers in the league, and I used to bat him out of the box.
Yeah.
Oh,
You came along sort of in a middle position. You weren't as old as the first group I was talking about at Watson. You were older than Cecil Urbanic and a little older than them.
some
right?
of them, yeah.
Yeah, that came along later.
Uh-huh.
And then Cecil went right on to little pro ball. I mean, went to the university.
University of
first.
Kentucky,
And his boy had scholarships
Jim
too.
went down there too.
Jim, yeah. I've seen Jim since. He's down at Duke as a doctor.
So,
But you quit playing ball really by 38. So you
30,
began in what year? You began before you went in the mines even?
Oh, yeah,
As a young boy, huh?
young boy.
Yeah.
In
you
fact,
quit about when you
one
was
time I
there.
went downtown and got all the merchants, and, well, Golden Brothers is the one that sponsored us.
Yeah, they
bought us-
sponsored the
bought-
Watson.
Yeah, bought us.
What happened? New England, when the coal companies backed up, you had to get
Yeah, they
merchants.
bought all the uniforms, Golden Brothers, and we had
And then you had their name
Golden
across
Brothers
it.
across the.
Yeah. When was the glory day of the Tri-State League? Were you in the glory years, or were they earlier than you when you?
Well,
came
I was
in?
with it from the time it started till the time it.
When did it start? I don't know those. I've heard of it. Was
Well,
it considered a semi-pro?
Semi-pro, yeah.
All right.
And,
An industrial league would be the way you.
Yeah, more-
It began in the first years with coal company
yeah,
sponsorship.
Mr. Beeson was the one that organized that. Alec Beeson, he was the super 4 states.
And when did you say you were there when he started? When did it start? If you had to guess, how old were you when you got into it?
Well, I wasn't even married then. I got
All right.
married in 37.
37, and you quit in 38. So you got to go back.
It
Were
had
you
to
in
be,
it for 5
it
years?
had to be between 33 and,
Well, when you started in 33, did the New England, whoever was, that was Consol by then, or New England?
Yeah.
Coal?
see, I played tri-state ball before I played
Okay.
sandlot ball, and when it was sandlot ball, that's when I got hurt. In 38, they had,
But let me
Butter-
stay with the Tri-State, because that's the industrial league. When you went to the coal company in 30,